Hello, and welcome to this channel update video. In this episode, I'm going to be talking to you about what content I have planned for the next year, explain why I haven't posted anything since my New Year's Eve fireworks flight from the beginning of the year, and give you a little bit more information about myself and why I even started this YouTube channel to begin with. If you haven't already stalked me on social media, I encourage you to do so. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Reddit, pick a social network. You can usually find me as Cyrix. It's a great way to learn more about who I am as a person and kind of see some of the hobbies that I have outside of aviation and outside of, what I do here on YouTube. So, I'm sure you've all noticed, I haven't really had much time to create any content for my channel this past year. I set some goals for myself, and I did accomplish them all, and even a couple of the stretch goals that I had set for myself. And in 2020, that's going to give me a little bit more free time, so hopefully I'm going to be able to post at least one video a week. It's either going to be an aviation concept, a DCS World tutorial, a real-world flight vlog, or something relating to aviation. So like I said, this past year has been a very successful one for me. After starting my own business at the end of 2018, I decided to really focus on building it and kind of fleshing out the models and systems that I need in place so that it's going to be successful for me in the long run. And no, I didn't quit my full-time job to become a YouTuber. So contrary to what you might believe, I actually did not start this channel as an aviation-based channel. I just started as kind of a fun channel for my family and friends to see some of the cool stuff I was doing. At the time, I think my first video was from March of 2007, almost 13 years ago. It was me and my Subaru. I have a Subaru WRX rally car, and it was just me going to a rally school. I wanted to learn how to be a rally driver just for fun, like hobby stuff. And so I took a GoPro with me, and I filmed some of my driving. It's not very good driving, but it was also my first time doing that kind of a school. At the time, YouTube wasn't really a big, monetary creation channel. It was just video sharing. So that's what I did. From there, you can kind of see me playing some piano, singing along to the piano, singing along when we were playing Rock Band one New Year's Eve, and I think they removed the audio from a couple of those songs because it's copyright claim. You'll also find some informational videos I created while I was working as a general tradesman for my dad. My dad has run a termite inspection company for 48 years. He actually just retired. Him and my stepmom are going to probably start their own YouTube channel next year, and they're going to be touring all of the national parks in the country. That's kind of one of his goals. He's first generation from Armenia here in the country, so he has been to a bunch of other countries. He's never seen the national parks here in the United States, so that's one of his goals. While I was working for him, I would take videos of, some construction stuff that we were doing, some termite damage that we had found. That's kind of where this channel started. YouTube, for me, was just a way to share things, cool things, with people that I knew. Now, I did start flight simulation early on. I've really always been enamored by aviation. When I was a little kid, we used to drive by the airport here, the local airport, and I live about 10 minutes away from there. My dad being an inspector, we used to drive around a lot. We'd always drive by the airport. I'd see planes flying in, taking off. I used to love that stuff. There's a driving range right there at the airport, and that's where we would always go to hit balls. We'd go to San Francisco Fleet Week, and we'd see the Blue Angels. We'd see some of the other stunt pilots, and those people were doing amazing things, and I just loved every aspect of it. So when I got my first computer was, I got one for me when I was about 15 years old. And got Microsoft Flight Simulator with it, and a Microsoft Sidewinder 3D Pro, one of the first, rudder twist sticks that they had. And I taught myself how to fly in Flight Simulator, and reading a few books that I had found on aviation, just kind of, some of the concepts of how to get things to go. I used to invent these cross-country scenarios in my mind. It would usually be some variation of like, oh, this celebrity's in town and they're trying to escape from the paparazzi, and Robert, you're the only one at the airport who knows how to fly because all the commercial pilots, they don't want to take them. Doesn't have to make sense. So I would do a lot of Dead Reckoning, I would do pilotage and stuff like that just in the Flight Simulator, flying from Concord Buchanan down to LAX. And then I would land at LAX because who needs air traffic control, right? But again, this was way before I knew, this was probably 16 to 18, maybe a little bit longer than that, maybe a little bit older than that, but the scenarios changed a little bit, but same kind of thing. It was just I'm just going to do this flight and see if I can do it. And I kind of taught a lot of that stuff to myself just through those scenarios. In 2009, my cousin, who I'm very close with, he's a good bit older than me, he developed a brain tumor right on his optic nerves. So your optic nerves go from your brain, they cross over each other, and then they connect to your eyes. Well, right where they cross, right above that, he started having a brain tumor grow. And that put a lot of pressure on the optic nerve. Optic nerve atrophied, and he went blind. He was 40 years old at the time. I think I was 25. And he used to be an avid gamer. We used to play Battlefield together. I would be flying the Apache. I'd be flying whatever plane in Battlefield 2, Battlefield Desert Combat, and he would usually be in a tank or something. And so he went from being a gamer and somebody who loved media and loved all of this stuff to basically not being able to enjoy any of it. And right about the same time, I was getting into Mass Effect. And I realized that Mass Effect had an almost entirely dialogue-driven storyline. And the cool thing about that was I was able to screen capture my Mass Effect playthrough, and I put that together in kind of a cinematic recreation or whatever, so that he could just kind of focus on the story. He would get all of the dialogue, he would get some of the battle sounds and stuff like that, but I cut out all of the leveling up, like all of the grinding stuff, so that he didn't have to sit there and listen to a vehicle driving for 5 hours. A lot of it was just cutscene, okay, we're moving, okay, new cutscene or whatever. But it really helped him during his first couple of years of being blind to acclimate to that lifestyle. He was able to enjoy a video game with a very compelling story and not have to play it to be able to experience it. That was a great use of YouTube for me at the time. A couple of years after that, I ended up moving to Georgia, Savannah, that area. I was working as a freelance website developer and software engineer. One of my friends, close friends, who's also into aviation and military aviation, he said, hey, we should really try this A10C simulator that's on Steam. And I think we had both purchased it at some point in the past. We'd kind of fiddled around with it, but it was a little bit too complicated for us, so we never really got into it. This time he was like, hey, let's sit down and actually see if we can learn this. So we did. We picked up the A10C, just the Steam module. I'm not sure if DCS World was out yet, or it might have just been released. I don't remember. We really got into it, and we started trying to kind of recruit our friends and saying, hey, you should come and play the simulator with us. And they like aviation, but they're not that into it, and they really don't want to fly a study-level simulator. At some point, DCS World was released. The SU-25 came with it for free. Hello, and welcome to this training video for the SU-25T Frogfoot. And I decided, hey, this is cool. I can put together tutorials for my friends and let them learn, like teach them how to fly the simulator, and they're not going to be investing anything into it until they know that they like the SU-25T. At the time, there weren't really any other good tutorials for the SU-25T. The only tutorials that were available, I think there were like 3 or 4 in the simulator. My friends didn't want to have to take notes. They would rather, most of us had at least 2 screens, so they could have the video up on one screen and play the game on the other screen, and that would work for them. But they couldn't do that in game. They couldn't open 2 copies of the game to play a video and also fly the plane. I was living in Savannah, I had some free time, and I decided I was going to be putting together some tutorial videos for my friends. And that's kind of where my SU-25T tutorial series came from. I figured I needed to make it simple enough to both introduce my friends to the aircraft and a little bit of flight theory, and also be generic enough that if they wanted to invite, some of their friends, they could just share it. And so I didn't want to use any peripherals that they might not have. I didn't want to use track IR. I didn't want to use a joystick. I think the first 4 or 5 videos, I was just using mouse and keyboard. I wanted to make it as entry-level as possible so that any of my friends could see that it was a game that they could just jump into and learn, see if they enjoyed it, without investing very much more than their time. And that actually kind of led to a little bit of an inside joke amongst us that DCS World is free as long as your time is worthless. I don't believe that, because a lot of my sim piloting did carry over when I finally got my certificate in the real world. So if you're planning on doing that, don't consider it worthless, and it is a very good use of your time. The tutorial series was very successful. A lot of my friends actually came and joined us in DCS World. We've been having a blast for the past, 10, 15 years, however long we've been playing. And it ended up being an even bigger success to the YouTube community. I had a lot of people subscribe. I had a lot of people, come and give feedback and talk about some of the errors that I made in the series, because at the time I wasn't a pilot. I hadn't even started my training. I just, hey, I know how to kind of do this in a sim. I'm going to put together a tutorial series so my friends can fly with me. Some of it was just, hey, I'm putting this together. It doesn't really matter because it's just for my friends. I say that the SU-25 speed is in meters per second, which doesn't make any sense because if you're flying the Su-25 at 600 meters per second, you're going pretty darn fast. So that was wrong, as many people have pointed out in the comments. Thank you for that, by the way. And I also talk about the altimeter settings, and I get that completely wrong as well. And I'm sure I made plenty of other errors as well. But in any case, there are a lot of problems with that initial series, but it was very, very popular on YouTube. I also ended up posting it to the Steam Workshop for DCS World once they released it on Steam, and it's gotten some really positive feedback there as well. I continued to post DCS-related content and I put together a couple of mission editor tutorials since I had just released my first mission at that point, a mission called Asset Extraction, in which you could fly as any of the then available modules, and the mission would dynamically create and scale engagements with the overall goal being the successful rescue of a spy who was kind of hiding out in the valleys to the west of Vladikavkaz. And this was also in direct response to wanting to get my friends to play with me. We all owned different modules. Some of us only owned the Su-25. Some of us, like one of us owned the P-51. A couple of us owned the A-10, the F-15, some of the Flaming Cliffs planes. And I put the mission together so that any of us could join the game, fly around. It would spawn things for us to take care of, make us feel like we were in a mission together, and that's kind of where that came from. Anyway, that was a ton of fun putting that mission together. I did all the voice acting work. I think there's 5 different voices, and it's all me. And I put it together in Adobe Audition and just like played around with the sliders and things like that. Around that time, my wife and I decided to go our separate ways. We had moved back to California from Georgia. I had started working as an engineer at Lagunitas Brewing Company, software engineer. Amazing company. They have their own software engineering team. All a great group of guys. They're up in Petaluma. Ex-wife got an excellent position at a hospital in Sacramento. And then the house that I own here is in Concord. So about 50 miles from Petaluma, and I would say maybe another 75 to 90 miles from Sacramento. So not a very close thing. Couple that with us realizing that we wanted different things in life, and things happen. When you've known someone and been best friends with somebody for 16 years and you've been married to them for 5 of those years, and then they effectively vanish from your life, it's a little bit difficult to keep yourself in a good headspace. I had been wanting to pursue my pilot certificate for quite a while, since I was 15-ish, and I decided, I'm just going to go all in on that. So I went and got my private pilot certificate. I recorded a lot of my private pilot training, more for debriefing than anything else, but I realized that I could actually put those together into vlogs, and so I put together my first couple of vlogs. And you'll notice my first vlogs, there's very little talking to the camera, there's very little me interacting, because I'm just filming for myself. And, every so often I crack a joke or whatever, or do a fourth wall look into the camera. So today's the day they let me fly by myself. It wasn't planned in a vlog format. It was just kind of like this is just how I am and who I am. But all of that kind of became therapy for me. So during that transition in my life, that was what kind of kept me grounded. Ironic, I know. Early on when I got into my flight training, there's a mnemonic you learn, which every letter stands for a different word, and it's I am safe, I-M-S-A-F-E, and it's a self-assessment where you go and you're basically doing a sanity check to see whether you're fit to fly. You're checking yourself for illness, like do you have any sinus conditions that might affect you if you go up in altitude and the pressure changes? Are you on any medication that might alter your judgment? Are you under a high amount of stress? Are you under the influence of alcohol? Are you extremely fatigued? And what is your emotional stability like? You can also say eating for the E. Obviously, I was right in the middle of dealing with some pretty heavy emotions. So I pledged to myself that before I got signed off for my solo, I would really take a look at that aspect and the stress aspect of that self-assessment and make sure that I was fit to fly before I actually went up for any of my solos. And it never really ended up being an issue for me. Aviation just completely takes me to another place. I'm focusing on the task at hand and staying ahead of the aircraft. It's almost zen-like for me in the real world to be flying. Unfortunately, I didn't capture any video, but I had some friends visit from Australia. We flew from here down to Fullerton Airport near LA to go to Disneyland. Got to fly my imagined scenario for real. My friend was commenting, because when I talk in real life, I'm energetic. I get excited and I start talking really fast. And when I'm talking in a plane, he even commented on it. He's like, dude, you're just like totally even keel, very professional. And so that's how the training was for me as well. When I was doing my flight training, I didn't think about anything else. I was too focused on what I was doing there, and it really helped me to kind of disconnect and reconnect with myself. It was a beautiful form of therapy. It's not going to work for everybody. I'm not recommending that, if you're going through a super stressful time, you go and take flight lessons. However, it did really, really help me. So I started posting more vlogs and less DCS content just because that's where I was at that point in my life. And then I kind of realized I could combine the two. I know there's a lot of sim pilots that fly in real life, and I know that there are likely more that have never flown a plane in real life. And so what I kind of wanted to do was bring the two together, and that's where the Aviation Concepts series came from. I wanted to kind of talk about some of the concepts in aviation that maybe are less well represented in a virtual space, but are better explained when you're in a real space. And that also led to me starting my second tutorial series, which was for the new TF51, the free, fully clickable P51 that came with DCS World as well. They had just recently released it. So this was kind of another way to grab some of my friends who maybe wanted to play with a more full fidelity module and a less, Flaming Cliffs kind of simple module, and teach people about that at the same time because they're both related. I was explaining that Petaluma is about 58 miles away from Concord, which is where I'm at right now, and you would think that that's maybe a 45-minute to an hour drive, and anywhere else in the country that's probably true. But in California, the traffic is terrible, so that's a 2-hour drive to work when you leave at 4:30 in the morning. And then it's about a 2.5 to 3-hour drive back home because in the afternoon traffic's always heavier. So I would leave here at about 4:30, 5 o'clock, get to work at about 6:37, depending on how heavy traffic was. I'd work till 3:30, come home. On the way home, stop and grab, some terrible dinner at McDonald's or Taco Bell or whatever, because that's all I had time for. I would eat real quick, do a little bit of internet tooling around, and basically go to sleep and repeat it the next day. The weekends were spent doing chores, and then I really didn't have any free time to myself. And it was at that point that I decided to quit my job as a software engineer and go into business for myself as a realtor. So I had a lot of experience through working with my dad, running a general contracting repair company. My dad's the contractor, and then me being kind of like the foreman and the inspector. I had a lot of experience in the housing industry. I kind of realized, and maybe you also kind of realized the pattern, I'm always happiest when I'm helping others. I tend to be a quick learner. I tend to pick things up fairly quickly, and when I can take something and encourage somebody else to pursue what they want to do, that's when I'm the happiest. So I quit my software engineering job in March of 2018, and I spent the rest of the year studying and earning my real estate license, interviewing brokerages. Eventually I chose Keller Williams Realty. The fact that they kind of teach you how to run a successful business. They don't really just say, okay, here's your real estate license, go. They put a lot of effort into you, and it's very similar to kind of the mindset that I have, where I try and set others up for success, and they try and set us up for success. Since that all aligned with the way that I like to do things, it was a perfect fit for me. By the end of 2018, so I got my license in September. That's when I joined Keller Williams. September to December, it was all basically just learning. I was going to all the classes that they offer at our market center, and I was putting together a business plan for this year, 2019. By the end of the year, I had a solid business plan, and I went out to celebrate by doing my fireworks tour. And I believe I said that I wanted to post more videos in 2019, including an IFR series where I get my IFR certificate. Yeah, I had every intention of creating more aviation videos and tutorials and posting them on my channel. As you can tell, that didn't really end up happening. As we have a saying, if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. And I never really scheduled time to vlog. I didn't really schedule time to pursue my IFR rating. I did take a few lessons here and there, but I didn't schedule time to create new aviation concepts videos, DCS tutorials. I didn't really put any focus on content creation in 2019. I was more focused on setting my business up for success so that I'm not struggling in the future. My focus was on my business and my personal growth. My entire life, I've been a leader, I've been a teacher, I've been a mentor, and I'm always happiest when I can help somebody else learn, grow, succeed, or achieve their goals. I love creating videos, putting them on this channel, and it's all for your benefit. I'm very bad at asking for a call to action. I'm not good at doing that. If I can help people get into aviation, if I can help motivate people to realize that they can go and get their pilot certificate and go out and actually take a lesson with a flight instructor, do a discovery flight, something of that nature, if I can help them take a concept that's difficult to understand and make it simpler for them. And again, I'm not a CFI. However, sometimes it's just the way somebody says something that makes something click in your mind, and all of a sudden you understand it. And if I can do that for anybody, that's where I get my fulfillment. That's where I get my enjoyment. And that's also why I didn't want to get into this YouTube thing as a business. I want this to be 100% coming from contribution and coming from wanting to help and not feeling like I need to make money off of it. And so that's, like, I do have a Patreon set up. I've never really taken it that seriously. If you'd like to go and contribute, I sure, show me that you enjoy the videos. That's great. But that's not the point. That's why I didn't leave my job and become a YouTuber. I don't want to feel like I have to produce content to make money on this channel. I would rather the content itself have value. I want this to still be fun. Now, whether that's taking you on an aviation adventure with me in a vlog, sharing my enthusiasm for aviation with you through recording a flight show, an air show, or to help you learn how to do something new or understand a concept behind, why a certain thing works the way it does. I'm passionate about setting others up for success through educating, demonstrating, and coaching. I'm the most fulfilled when I can help somebody else achieve what they've already set out to do. In 2020, this channel is going to become an extension of that. You can expect more DCS tutorials, aviation concepts videos, flight vlogs, and possibly even more just general vlogs, so that I can share things that I've learned and experiences that I've had that, while they might not directly relate to aviation, they'll allow us to kind of keep the content going and the conversations alive. If I can inspire a few of you guys to say, hey, you know what, I think I am going to go take a discovery flight with a CFI, an instructor, I've accomplished my goal. Now, to close out on what's a pretty long video, I do want to say that I'm incredibly thankful for everybody who is a subscriber to my channel. I just passed 6,000 viewers last night, actually, so thank you so much. I'm hoping by the end of the year I can grow that to 10,000, the end of 2020, not the next 24 hours or whatever it is until New Year's. And I'm excited to see where we go over the course of the next year. On that note, I will see you in the next video.